Hello, everybody. Today, I want to talk about what is going to be our last essay for the semester. I have it on Moodle under this week as the literary analysis essay assignment sheet, so you should look through that if you haven't done so yet. What we're going to be doing here is I've posted two short stories for you to read for homework, and we're just going to write a short essay, kind of analyzing these stories. So I want to say a couple of things about maybe what it's been like in the past if you've had to, read a story or read a play and then write about it. Um, and I want to talk about, like what I'm looking for in this kind of essay. So I know that we don't have a lot of time here, which is why if you look at the assignment sheet, I'm only asking for 2 pages. So this doesn't need to be that long. Hopefully, it'll be something that we can get done kind of quickly because I know we're short on time here. I think it's an important thing to do, though. I think that like reading the stories and then using the quotes from the stories and showing our understanding of the story to then write an essay about them. I think that's just a kind of good cap to the semester where something I've been trying to work on a lot is like the connections between reading and writing and like the importance of being engaged when you're reading the thing and then being able to use that to turn it into your own writing. So I think it'll be helpful with those skills that we've been working on throughout the semester. So the two stories you have there, you have The Story of an Hour and you have A Pair of Silk Stockings, both by Kate Chopin. I don't think these stories are too difficult. They're fairly short. They were both written, I think, in like the 1890s, 1900s, so they're kind of old. But I think the language is still pretty understandable. I don't think there's anything there that's too difficult. I'm going to read through them again, and if there is, I'll make sure to mention it. Next week, I'm going to post a video of me kind of breaking down each of those stories and trying to help you guys out in terms of what we're going to write about. But yeah, for now, I want to focus on just what this kind of essay is and what we're trying to do. So when you've had to write about stories or plays in the past, you might have been writing about like, oh, what the themes are, or what the symbols are, or the what do you call it, the figurative devices and stuff like that. I think the way this kind of essay is taught in school is not good, for sure. I think we can say that. I feel like when we've done these essays before, if you had to write about Shakespeare or some novel or Mice and Men or something like that, I feel like we rarely have an understanding of like what the purpose of that kind of essay is, what we're trying to do, and like why. Um, so what we're ultimately trying to do is to make an argument. That's the first thing. Our thesis should be an argument. Just like for our last essay, our argument essay, where we had a thesis where we were trying to convince the reader of the solution that we had for that essay. For this one, we're going to be making an argument about the message that the story is sending. What is the story trying to say? What is the story trying to show us? Answering those questions is going to get us to our thesis for this essay. So if you look at the suggested topic that I gave you there, it has to do with gender, which I think, is a big focus of both of these stories. Is like, gender roles and the way gender expectations can affect people and finding independence, especially for women. And if we consider the time period, I think it makes even more sense. Obviously, it would still make sense to write about that stuff now, but when you consider what it must have been like in the 1890s, 1900, you can imagine why an author like Kate Chopin would be inspired to write stories like this. So, in terms of our thesis, we want it to be as specific as we can. I think what we want to avoid is just saying like, "Oh, the story shows us what it was like back then." Sure, they do. It does. Any story from any time would show us that, right? If I picked a story from 1812, it would show me what it was like then. If I found a story from ancient Greece, it'll show me what it was like then. So I want us to move past just saying it shows us what it was like back then or it shows us what it was like for women back then. And I want to focus specifically on like the ways that the story is trying to criticize like sexism or gender roles. Like if you looked at some of the questions I have on the assignment sheet, I think some of the questions we might want to answer is like, according to the story, why are gender roles bad, or what are the consequences of these traditional gender roles? How do they affect women? Um, they also affect men, but I don't know if the stories get into that as much. But I think by and again, you don't those questions are not your thesis. Your answer to those questions is going to be your thesis. So we just want to be as specific as we can and say like, here's what the story is trying to show us. Um, maybe another way to think about it is your argument could be that the story is trying to criticize traditional gender roles, or that it's trying to criticize um, kind of sexist understanding of what men are supposed to do and what women are supposed to do. And then you just want to be as specific as you can, like you could say the story is trying to criticize the idea that a woman is just supposed to stay in the house or whatever and support the man, and he can do whatever he wants. And this will make a lot more sense, I think, in my videos about the stories, where I'll try to pick like specific quotes and connect them to this kind of thesis that we have. But the main thing that we want to do is make an argument about the message that the text is sending about gender. What is it trying to show us about gender? What is it trying to show us about gender roles? What is it trying to say about the way that women are treated? So yeah, I think as long as we have that perspective, we can have a successful essay here. So again, if you look at the assignment sheet, I'm only looking for 2 pages here, so this is a pretty short essay. I still want like an introduction and conclusion, all that essay stuff. And yeah, you'll mainly be using quotes from the story to back up what you're trying to say about it. Something to think about here is, I think the most difficult thing for students with this kind of essay is avoiding giving too much summary. I would caution you against trying to summarize the entire story. I feel like I see a lot of students who they want to, like, at the beginning of the essay, they want to just summarize everything that happens in the story. And I would avoid doing that. I would, like, you do have to have some summary, right? Because what happens in the story is the evidence that's going to back up your thesis. The quotes and the summary that you give us from the story is going to be like your evidence in this case. But because of that reason, you want to make sure that you're only focusing on the parts of the story that are going to help us, like that help you to make your argument. So there could be parts of the story that you don't even mention because it doesn't relate to your argument. It's not your job to summarize the entire story. This isn't like a book report. If you've done a book report in the past where you're just supposed to tell us what happens in the story, that's not what this is. You want to make sure that you have your thesis, your argument, and then the stuff that happens in the story is just to help you prove that thesis or that argument. So, like I said, there could be parts of the story that you don't even mention if they don't fit into your thesis, if they don't help you make your argument. So instead of giving all of the summary at the beginning of the essay or something like that, I would just try to bring up the quotes that help to prove your thesis as they come up in your paragraphs. So this is going to depend on how we have an outline for this, on excuse me, how we plan out our paragraphs. But yeah, the most important thing I can just say again and again is that we're making an argument about the message the story's sending, and then we're using what happens in the story as evidence to back up that argument. So don't get caught up in just summarizing the story. If all you do is tell us what happened in the story, you're not doing what this essay is asking for, which is to get to the message. What's it trying to say? What is it trying to show us? So yeah, I'll have more videos talking about this coming soon, but I just wanted to let us know about this essay. I had a make sure you look at the due dates on the assignment sheet. I believe I had a rough draft due next Friday, so at the beginning of next week I'll post my videos about the stories, and then hopefully by Friday we can get something going for a rough draft. Again, it doesn't need to be the whole thing; it could just be a page or a couple of paragraphs, so I can give you some feedback. And then we have the final version of it due on the last day of the semester, which is May 10th. So that's when I'll be looking for this to be submitted. All right, more on this to come soon. See you later.